Hi, Amy. Thank you for your question. That's quite interesting how that question seems to always pop in conversations about the history of the Catholic Church. Actually, the simplest answer to your question is Saint Ignatius of Antioch. Saint Ignatius of Antioch is the very first person to refer to the Christians as Catholics and to the Christian community as the Catholic Church. Ignatius of Antioch is the second bishop of Antioch, succeeding Peter, who was the first bishop of Antioch. And Peter was moving into Rome to go on with his missionary journey. And he ordained Ignatius to take his place as the bishop. And it is interesting that also, according to tradition, Ignatius of Antioch actually knew the two other apostles, Paul and John, who, of course, we know historically are affiliated to communities in what we know now as modern day Turkey. But anyway, according to historical writings, Ignatius of Antioch was captured and was actually held captive and was being brought to Rome to be executed there. And on his way to Rome, he wrote a letter to the Smyrnians. The Smyrnians are people of the city of Smyrna, also in modern day Turkey. In fact, even today, the city is still called Smyrna. And the Smyrnians are Greek speaking people, and he wrote this letter to them. And in the letter, he said, where Jesus Christ is found is where the Catholic Church is, or where Jesus Christ is where you find the Catholic Church, something like that. Either way, he was actually writing in Greek, and the Greek word for the word Catholic is katholikos, and katholikos really means pertaining to the whole, or simply put, it means universal or general. It kind of reminds us of the Jesus sending his disciples forth to the ends of the earth to baptize everyone in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them what he had told and taught his apostles. So I think that's the reason why also the word Catholicos became very popular and appropriate and attractive as a name to the Christians, because it reminds them of their mission to go out there as apostles and as disciples to baptize and to tell the good news to the rest of the world, to the ends of the world. We know, of course, that the essential feature of the Catholic Church is that it is universal. In other words, that it has spread itself to many areas of the world. And that is, of course, still an ongoing project in the Catholic Church. But it is an important quality of the Catholic Church that it is a universal church. And it still continues to invite people from different corners of the world to its vision of one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Actually, as a way to illustrate this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my recent trip to Mexico. This kind of brings the point of the universality of the church, because when I was there and I went to visit the Metropolitan Cathedral of Mexico City, right there within the Zocalo, it was amazing because when I got there was a mass going on, and the mass was in Spanish, being presided by a priest from South America. And then immediately after that mass, another mass started, and the mass was presided by a Cambodian priest, and it was actually a mass with pilgrims from Cambodia. And it's interesting because there I was Filipino, and my friend was there also, was American, and then we were in Mexico, and then there is this group of Cambodians who were there, and then I was actually standing right by a store, the store within the area, but right as you enter the church, and inside that there were a couple of Polish women who were buying rosaries right there. So it was interesting, the experience of the universality of the church right there as I entered this beautiful metropolitan cathedral in Mexico City. So I think the next part of this video would then just some snippets of my trip to Mexico City, showcasing the Zocalo as well as a little section of the Metropolitan Cathedral in Mexico City. So enjoy it. Peace. Thanks, Amy. God bless you. Right behind me is the Metropolitan Cathedral. This is the biggest and most important of all the cathedrals in Mexico City. As you go through the different streets in Mexico, you can find a lot of different cathedrals and churches. But this one is definitely the most important. It seems like it's always undergoing renovation, but it's beautiful and spectacular both at the outside and in the inside. The concept of a Zocalo is a basic Spanish encomienda structure for all the cities and towns that were created by Spain from way back during the time of the colonial period. And so the structure here is, in this same square, you see all the seats of government as well as the most important religious building, all in one place, in this one big square, which they call the Zocalo, or the Plaza Mayor. This is the site of the Cathedral of Mexico, the Metropolitan Cathedral. It is huge. I think it's one of the probably biggest churches in the world. But it's really very impressive. There's a mass going on, so we won't say so much. But it's really just beautiful, and it's very conducive to prayer. Although you see a lot of tourists going on around the whole time too. But they section the church so that some really solemn mass can still happen, and there are some chapels on the side that people can go and pray for. I just checked out the chapel of Saint Jude Taddeus. It's really beautiful. It's worth seeing. A stop in Mexico requires a stop at the Metropolitan Cathedral. So.
Bendito es el que viene, el nombre del Señor.
Santo eres en verdad, Señor, fuente de toda santidad. Por eso te pedimos que santifiques estos dones con la efusión de tu Espíritu, de manera que sean para nosotros cuerpo y sangre de Jesucristo nuestro Señor.